Seth Watts. He is the Senior Director of Advancement in the College of Design, Construction, and Planning. Those of you who know Seth knows that he is a very affable, funny, fun-loving guy. He has been with Advancement for about 6 years now, and he wanted to make sure that I emphasize that he is a huge fan of Walt Elias Disney. Of course, we have to use the full name here. We can't just be Disney fans these days, but without further ado, Seth, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for having me this morning. This morning, I'm going to talk about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. And the title of my presentation is Shining Your Light. For those of you who don't know, I was actually born in the state of West Virginia in a very small coal mining town. That's going to be the emphasis of my conversation today. A lot of people have asked me in the past, Seth, what is your style of leadership and how do you manage your team and what do you do and how do you continue to do this? Well, a part of it starts with a story that I'll start with here. I'm from the hills of Appalachia, where coal mining is a way of life. For those of you who don't know what a coal mining way of life is, every morning miners get up, whether male, female, white, Hispanic, Latino American, African American, it doesn't matter. And typically they go into a mine shaft, some over 5 miles long. So to put that into perspective, if I was to put you in an elevator shaft and send you 5 miles into earth, you'd be at the Paynes Prairie Lookout right now. The way that miners have always explained it to me is if you go home tonight, go in your closet, turn off the lights, and put your hand in front of your face. And that's how much you can see in a coal mine. The emphasis for me was in 1977, a 17-year-old boy who graduated from high school forged his age to go into a coal mine. One of the things that this 17-year-old always taught me, though, was the skills, the drive, and the work ethic to live on today as an example, a true example of what a servant leader is. And I emphasize this photo when you talk about coal mining as we go, because the light never shines on you. So every day when we come to work and the work that we do, the light never shines back on you. You're always shining on the goal at hand. In this case, it's called black gold, and the workers that you're working with every day, making sure that you're protecting the person's back that you're in that mine with. It's very similar to what we do in Advancement. I'm going to show a quick clip because it talks about, in my mind, what I've envisioned this 17-year-old going through graduating high school. And I'm going to dim the lights for just a minute.
Turn your light on, boy.
So many of you in the room will remember that's the 1999 movie, October Sky, the story of Homer Hickam. There's one little line in there, if you listen very closely, there's an older miner who nudges him on the shoulder and says, "Turn your light on, boy." And that really is the emphasis for the way that I handle myself every day. When you wake up in the morning, I want to make sure I turn my light on. I want to make sure that the people that I work with, the people, some of you in this room, I'm making sure that I shine my light on you. And that is the true definition in my eyes when I talk about the difference between a traditional leader and a servant leader. The things that always stand out to me, the main difference is it shares power and control to drive engagement. It's that power and control that people get very confused about when they're a manager or a leader. But if we measure success through growth and development, then we know we've been a successful leader and not just on the outputs every day. A good servant leader listens. We sit down, even when it's tough. We have to be able to listen. You have to be able to look at the person next to you in the eye and understand what they're going through. And at the end of the day, understand it's not about them, or it's not about me as a leader. It's about those within the organization. We always say this in Advancement, right? It's about the faculty, the staff, and the students, but how you carry yourself every day really shows it's about them and not you. So a little backstory to kind of emphasize this. If you look at the photo in the top left, that's the hospital I was born in Logan County, West Virginia. If you can imagine being born in that hospital, the bottom photo was what I would have been as a newborn, the first things my eyes would have seen. To show you the work ethic, most people don't realize Logan, West Virginia is the home of the great Jerry West, the NBA logo. It's also home to the United States' bloodiest family feud, the Hatfields and McCoys. Many depictions of that. But the top right is where I always like to say that's the beauty of that area. That was the land of opportunity for people from that area. Growing up as a servant leader, always understanding, as you can see the photo on the left right there, that little fellow with the number 9, that was me. I was a quarterback in this state from my sophomore year to my senior year, and it started really there. I played with who now is the 6'6" star at that time, who was tied for the record for most touchdowns at the Florida State University. But understanding my role at that time was to shine my light on him. I knew my limitations. I was not going to be a Division I quarterback, although today I have a chance with the new run-pass option. But at that time, nobody was going to take a 5'8" drop-back passer. I did get a chance to play Division II college football, but understanding my limitations, I brought back to the shining your light, if you will, the picture on the right. I was hired to coach the following season at my high school. But life comes full circle with a Miners mentality. I was hired at the University of Kentucky. The photo on your left was one of my first major gifts that I closed at the University of Kentucky with the Friends of Coal. The photo on your right you'll see was me on a dredge miner here in Florida, a custom-made mine where they actually, Mosaic Company, mines all the fertilizer that you'll see. But that's how life will come full circle for a miner's mentality, in my eyes. When I come to work every day, sometimes it's a struggle. We work in a very small unit in DCP, and we try to do a lot. And we work in a very uncomfortable space at times. We have visions of grandeur. But then when I think about the work environment that these folks behind me on this screen come to, you'll see there's not much room in that mine shaft. And every single person's light on that helmet is shining where? On someone else. Or at the end of the day, the goal, which is the coal. And that's the mentality I try to bring every single day to this institution. We live in a society today, and I don't knock this, I think this is great, but we live in a very self-centered society today. Everybody recognizes these logos, these 30-second clips of fame, the selfies. Take the selfie and make it about ourselves. And that's a really hard thing in today's society with social media all around us. But if you can take just a split second and think about what your end goal is and what you're really trying to achieve and where you shine that light each and every day, you might find a little more success and actually a little bit more fulfilling in what you do here in advancement. And finally, this picture really speaks to the feeling that I have. Sometimes, and one of my colleagues is in the back of the room right now, there's sometimes I leave the office and I probably look like this. Beat to death, dirty, worn down. But the one thing that this image continues to show to me is he has a smile on his face and his light's still on. And that miner is going to come to work tomorrow, put his overalls on, or his coveralls, put his helmet on, and he's going to turn that light on once again to go down and watch and protect those around him. So I mentioned early on in my presentation that 17-year-old and how I learned this drive of this servant leader. That 17-year-old was my dad. I'm going to try to keep it together. That gentleman right there at the age of 17 went down in that mine shaft. He's standing next to my daughter, and that, of course, is Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. So for me to be able to share this story with you means a lot to me because he sent both of his sons to college. And many times he tells me to this day, even on that moment when I was 17, I could foresee this. I knew what I wanted for my kids. I knew what I wanted for my grandkids. So for me, coming to work every day is shining my light on others so they can have a chance to succeed and put that with their families. Held it together, which is what I was really hoping for. So thank you all so much for hearing my story this morning, letting me be vulnerable. I appreciate it, and go Gators.
Thank you so much, Seth, for that story, for opening yourself up in that manner, for sharing that with us. I know that the success that you all have experienced in DCP and truly across the organization is a total and complete commitment and a testament to each one of us continually shining our light on one another. I know we all sort of do it as something that we don't even really think about, but let's take a moment at some point throughout this day, the weekend, and through the rest of the fiscal year to really think about how we're shining lights on one another, because it really does matter.